It was an antique doll made of porcelain with a pink silk dress and painted on rosy cheeks. And when the woman took the doll home, she found that it looked exactly like her. It had been one of those days where nothing seemed to go right. On her way home from work, Clara had been jostled onto the pavement by a man in a hurry, his face obscured by a black umbrella shielding him from the rain. The wind whipped around her as she tried to keep her footing, her bag slipping from her shoulder. She'd felt something snap inside her. Had it been her purse? Her phone? No. A sharp pain lanced through her head, something hard pressed against her temple. She touched it gingerly. Blood trickled between her fingers. A man emerged from under his umbrella. He handed her something and then vanished back into the crowd. Startled, Clara opened her hand. Nestled inside was a small box wrapped in tissue paper. She eyed it suspiciously before unfastening the lid. Inside sat a porcelain doll dressed in a pink silk dress. Its rosy cheeks were framed by long, flowing locks of golden hair. An eerie calm washed over Clara. For the first time since she could remember, she felt at peace. But once she stepped foot inside her apartment, the tranquility evaporated. Fear coiled in her stomach as she noticed the doll was an exact replica of her. Even the dress matched the one she was wearing. Clara had never seen anything like it. How had this person known? Who had sent her this creepy doll? Why did it look just like her? More questions than answers swam in her mind. Her gaze drifted to the doll's vacant eyes. An unsettling feeling crept up her spine. Perhaps she should have left the doll outside. As the night wore on, the silence of her apartment grew deafening. Each creak of the floorboard, each sigh of the wind through the window pane sounded like whispers in the dark. Was she going crazy? In the midst of the chaos, something glinted from the corner of her eye. Clara turned, startled by what she saw. In the pale moonlight, the doll's eyes seemed to gleam with an eerie light. They were no longer empty sockets. She blinked. Had she imagined it? Rubbing her eyes, she returned to the kitchen. But the sight that greeted her there made her freeze. The doll sat on the table, its head turned toward her, its eyes gleaming. But that wasn't all. There on its chest, a single finger traced the outline of a scar. Clara gasped. She hurried to the bathroom, splashing water on her face. Staring back at her from the mirror was her own reflection, also bearing the mark of the strange birth. Her heart pounded. Could it be possible? Was the doll actually her? Days turned into weeks, and with each passing day, Clara's nightmares intensified. In her dreams, she relived moments of her life, but with a terrifying twist. The past week, these dreams had become more vivid, more frequent, and most disturbingly, they were bleeding into her waking hours. The line between dream and reality blurred. One moment she'd be in her dream, say, falling off a cliff, only to find herself jolted upright in bed, her heart hammering in her chest. Moments later, she'd hear a crash from downstairs, identical to the sound in her dream. Her rational mind screamed, "It's just a dream." But her body responded with an instinctive terror, and the strangest part, the doll was always present in her nightmares. Sometimes it watched silently, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. Other times, it seemed to mock her, its porcelain face contorted into a cruel smile. Clara sought solace in reason, telling herself it was just a doll, an inanimate object. But as her dreams grew more intense, so did her fear. She couldn't shake the feeling that the doll was behind it all, that it was somehow influencing her dreams, blurring the lines between them and reality. Driven by an overwhelming sense of dread, Clara made a decision. She would get rid of the doll, but as she prepared to leave, she noticed something peculiar. The doll's eyes, which had always seemed vacant, now held a disturbing glint. She could have sworn they followed her movements, but when she turned back, she saw only porcelain staring back at her blankly. Clutching the doll tightly, she rushed to the elevator. As the doors slid shut, she exhaled, momentarily relieved to be rid of it. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the elevator lurched to a halt. Trapped, Clara tried the button for the ground floor again and again, but it remained unresponsive. Panic surged through her. What if the doll was cursed? What if it had brought bad luck to the elevator? As the minutes ticked by, her anxiety escalated. Then, just as suddenly as it had stopped, the elevator jolted back into motion. The doors opened and Clara practically flew out, clutching the doll close. She didn't want to stay in that metal box another second. Hurrying down the street, she walked faster than she'd ever walked before. Her arms ached from holding the doll so tightly. Then, rounding a corner, she spotted the park from the corner of her eye. Without thinking, she stumbled into it. She needed to get away from the doll, from the nightmares, from the suffocating feeling that it was watching her every move. As she sank onto a nearby bench, she finally let go of the doll. Placing it on the ground, she closed her eyes, willing the terror in her heart to subside. But when she opened her eyes, the doll was gone. Had someone taken it, or had it simply vanished into thin air? For a moment, Clara felt a surge of relief. Maybe getting rid of the doll would bring an end to her nightmares. But deep down, she couldn't shake off the premonition that she hadn't seen the last of it. The dreams continued, each one more terrifying than the last. The line between dreams and reality grew increasingly blurred. Then came the day when the nightmare became real. Clara awoke, gasping for breath, her heart pounding. In her dream, she had been trapped in a burning building, the flames licking at her heels, the heat searing her lungs. Now, sitting up in bed, she realized that the room was filled with smoke. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Was this the end? Frantically, she clawed at her throat, trying to clear the smoke from her lungs. Coughing violently, she stumbled to the door. Escape was blocked by an inferno. Flames danced hungrily, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Turning back, she saw only thick smoke billowing from beneath her bed. Adrenaline surged through her veins. Clara bolted toward the window, the glass offering no barrier to the heat. The fire roared below. Jumping was impossible. She was trapped. Just as the flames began to creep closer, a strange calm washed over her. She accepted her fate. This had happened in her dreams countless times. This was how it always ended. But then a change occurred. A strong hand grasped hers, pulling her away from the window. Gasping for breath, she turned to see a man's concerned face. He was coughing violently, his eyes wild with urgency. Together, they dashed for the door, making a mad dash for the exit. Stepping outside, Clara realized she was still alive. Shaking and teary-eyed, she looked back at the burning building. Relief flooded her. She had escaped the fire, but then she noticed something horrifying. People were staring at her, their faces etched with shock. One woman pointed a trembling finger at her. "You," she cried, her voice trembling. "You started the fire." Suddenly, Clara's memories flooded back. The mysterious doll, the nightmares, the dreams that were becoming her new reality. All of it made sense now. This wasn't just a nightmare, it was her life, or rather the life of the doll. Someone had made her an exact replica and placed her in this world, stealing her identity. But why? And who was the real Clara? Overwhelmed by the realization, she stumbled back. She needed answers, but before she could seek them out, the accusing crowd closed in, their shouts echoing in her ears. Which, they screamed, "Demon." Their words cut deeper than any blade. In that moment, she understood the true horror of the situation. She was trapped in a nightmare, and there was no one to wake her up.